like again, there's no system that stops every piece of evil. But what I know from firsthand experience is there's a lot of Afghans living here with no light on the situation, and there are things happening here that shouldn't be happening here. And yes, we need more robust laws. Yes, we need better vetting, which can better deal with like ideology, not just affiliation. But we also need more light on the situation. We need more love in the situation.
The problem is not ethnicity. The problem lies in the sinful nature that is capturing this world into slavery. So the slavery of sin is the issue, and it's been no Afghan is justifying his action in the United States, especially.
Right. So when I went through the system and when my parents went through the system, sure, it took a long time, but the system was not flooded like it is now. Right?
Islam will continue to be triumphant until there have been 12 Khulafa, all of them from Al-Quraysh.
The God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. Nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. It shall break in pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end, and it shall stand forever.
This is my brother, my executor, and my successor among you, so listen to him and obey.
My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting.
Whoso obeys me obeys God. Whoever disobeys me disobeys God. Whoever disobeys my commander disobeys me.
The Lord said to me, You are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will make the nations your heritage, and the ends of the earth your possession.
Two systems of government, two visions for life on earth. Whichever is true changes everything. This is Christ and Khulafa.
Guys, welcome back to Christ and Caliphate. We are releasing this in the wake of an Afghan national, Ramanullah Lakanwal, who drove from Washington State, where we live, to Washington, D.C., and shot two National Guard members in cold blood. In the wake of this, all the people on the right are freaking out about Afghans in America. Who have we let into our country? What can be done about these kind of extremists? Are they homegrown? Is this something that can be prevented through immigration or further steps being taken? There's people talking about deporting all of the Afghans that are living here. And I've been talking to lots of Afghans this week. People are freaked out about all of this. So I wanted people to hear from you guys as Afghan Christians of what your take on the whole situation is. And I want to have a conversation about how we as Christians should be thinking through these things.
I mean, I don't like the whole mass punishment thing, you know. So somebody does something wrong and then it turns into, well, let's just get them all out of here. I mean, that's not the way our legal system has ever functioned. You know, it's always based on the individual or whatever. And the times when it hasn't have not been pretty moments in our history.
Like Japanese internment.
Japanese internment camps, you know, that kind of thing. That being said, we have a real problem. Like, there are a lot of people running around like taking, jumping the very polarized view of, we have to take, far right, let's get rid of them, far left. It's ridiculous. They're really, let's try and sweep the problem under the rug. We have a serious problem here. And this is not the first time. There were several instances on election day. I think that when this past election, I remember a lot of the debate between Tim Walz, who we'll probably be talking about in a different segment, and J.D. Vance, right? And the question came up about immigration policy and Afghans in particular, and it came up again and again throughout the campaign on Sunday shows and stuff like that. And the thing that we talked about was people unvetted, right? I think the hard part with the vetting conversation is this guy was vetted. Like he was a known quantity. People knew who he was. You know, he had served with the Afghan military. He had served honorably with the Afghan military and honorably with the U.S. military, right? Like, and was not you know, a jihadi, right? Was not Taliban. And you know, as circumstances play out, he goes and does this. So the question I think we need to ask ourselves is how did he get there? Right? Like what forces are going on? How did he get from where he was to the point where he was
Or what
actively
was his motives?
right, like yeah, where he was actively fighting the Taliban. He was actively trying to stop them from taking over his country, and
Yeah.
he essentially flipped sides. That also is nothing new in Afghanistan. That also happened, you know, on the ground in Afghanistan where people would flip sides. You know, was he a plant? You know, was he always loyal to them and just acting as an operative? Was he radicalized, you know, post coming here? There are a lot of different questions that need to be answered. And I think that the way that affects every individual Afghan, it could be, it's frightening, but I mean, it's also frightening for like our legal system. Like, how do we let that go? You know, it makes you look at our whole immigration system and go, what happened? Like, how did we get here where this guy who served alongside of our troops, right? Like fought, you know, like I think probably aided in military operations against, you know, the sworn enemies of America, right? Like how do we wind up here? And how did he wind up here in Washington State? And then how did he wind up, you know, like I think I was talking to you earlier and you were like, you know, that's a long ride, right? It's a long ride from, it's a long time to hop in a car and drive across the country with the idea that you were going to go just randomly start shooting people, like, you know, National Guardsmen. So, yeah.
So I just want to point out, this is not an academic conversation for us. We were personally involved in bringing Afghans into the country.
Yeah.
Which I'm one of them.
Right. And now, to be fair, you know, some of those people came through Operation Allies Welcome, like you. Other people walked up across the southern border. We never advocated people to do that. But people would come up, and then we get a call once they've crossed the border, being like, "Hey, we have nowhere to go."
Yeah, we helped them once they were inside the United States.
Correct. We've always told people to obey the law.
Yes.
Right.
People didn't always do that, but once they've got here, we help people get in the legal system, right? No one who we've helped is currently undocumented. They're all in the asylum process because they deserve to be. Right. So this is not some academic thing for us. These are real people that we are really actually connected to. We have real skin in the game. Your dad was in Afghanistan trying to defeat the Taliban, like with the Northern Alliance back in the day, and all sorts of nefarious forces.
Well, from here. Yeah.
From here, yeah.
Yeah.
You got out of Kabul when the Taliban took over. But so what's the mood on the ground around this shooting in DC, in the Afghan community right now?
So to start, I want to mention that what Ibar says, you know, and a one individual person's motive cannot explicitly explain the motive of a whole nation. There are certainly Afghans who died with the U.S. Army alongside, and includes my own family, a couple of my uncles who served, and they now live in the States. They are U.S. citizens, alongside with my cousins who, you know, got shot 3 times while doing operations in Afghanistan with the U.S. Army. So there are people who put their lives in danger in Afghanistan to join the U.S. Army in defeating Talibans. And Rahmanullah, with what motivated him, nobody knows, but there's also a lot of theory. But it spreaded a wide fear for every single immigrant who is either in the process of getting their green card, applied for it, or even are in the process of asylum. There's just a expansion of fear that hovers all over the Afghans. And things like uncertainty comes with that. Where they're gonna end up, how they're gonna advocate it for, and who's going to support them in this era. And with the new immigration system, what would happen to them is unknown at the moment. I would say there's an expansion of fear among all Afghan immigrants. At the same time, if you saw the news, Afghan people showed up to the White House, and they started this thread of, advocating for the army, and shouting the statement of "We're not Afghans, we're Tajiks," or "We're Hazaras and we're not Afghans," explaining that terminology, the Afghan, is only referred to Pashtuns and not to all the other ethnicities. So in this way, they want to show that we are not related to jihadists and extremists, and we're just fellow Afghans who love to live in a free country.
So how do you feel about that? Because that's one way of solving the issue, right? It's all the Pashtuns. On the other hand, if you just deport all the Pashtuns, your mom goes back to Afghanistan.
Yes, because I'm half Pashtun and half Tajik. So I do not see the problem as Christians. We believe that sin is the problem of the world, not individuals, and that does not mean that specific tribe is doing something wrong or sinful in Afghanistan. It's everyone, and those who have the extremist mindset and carry all those beliefs does not only attribute to Tajiks or Pashtuns or any other ethnicity. It's a general belief of terrorists, and we can see that alongside of Syria. They are not Pashtuns, right? In what happened in Egypt, they were not Pashtuns, and Iran is definitely not Pashtun, right?
Right.
So the problem is not ethnicity. The problem lies in the sinful nature that is capturing this world into slavery. So the slavery of sin is the issue, and it's been no Afghan is justifying his action in the United States, especially, and also Afghans in Afghanistan hate what happened, and they are sanctioning Rahmanullah's action to a very, very low level and very tragic and very extremist.
Yeah. So I think one thing that's important to think through as people think through what this guy's story is and what he believes and what exactly motivated this. Obviously, we don't know everything right now. And I don't think people are kind of debating, is this ideology? Is this mental health? Or is he like a sleeper agent? I think the easiest one to rule out there is sleeper agent, because if this guy has...
just to be clear, unlikely.
Unlikely. The most unlikely scenario, he's a sleeper agent.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because his plan looked like randomly lashing out. It didn't look something that was like well thought through and coordinated, right? Because if what's the point? He spends
3 nights.
He spends forget that, like, works for the Afghan army, works for U.S. Special Forces, is this long con in order to get into America to form this master plan. His master plan is killing one person and wounding one other person. It's like if he was smart enough to like lie for that long, he'd have a more impactful attack.
Sure.
Right. So
there were definitely higher value targets that he was exposed to along the way. Yeah. Right. Could have sabotaged military operations, whatever.
If this guy was like some terrorist mastermind, he could have done way more damage.
Yeah.
This guy's not a mastermind. This is a guy who's not doing well. Now, so then the question becomes, is this motivated purely by ideology, or is this like a mental health issue? And I'm going to make the argument that I think it's both.
Yeah, I would
a little bit of both.
Yeah, well, think about it. We have our own troops who struggle with PTSD, right? Like I have friends who came back from there who are American servicemen, and they struggle with PTSD, and some of them got help and some of them didn't. The ones who didn't, they're volatile, right? And then when you start adding in ideology or whatever, then that's where the powder keg comes in. That's where people become radicalized.
Yeah. So let me give you an example of this, right? So let's say you have somebody who grows up in the West, peripherally around Christianity, and that when that person goes crazy, there are certain things that looks like, right? So for example, it's much more likely that a crazy Christian is going to think that God incarnate than a Muslim is going to think that, right? So in the Muslim imagination, God becoming a man is completely, you can't rule that out. Whereas to think that you're, an incarnate angel, which I had, I knew someone who thought that.
Oh, I've had my run-ins.
Right. I would guess that's way rarer in the Muslim world, right? So because what your mind is playing with is the sort of script you grew up with. So if you grew up in Afghanistan, you're going to be hearing things from some Muslims, not everybody, but some Muslims, that's going to value martyrdom as the ultimate reward, and you're in this tug of
And the
war.
ultimate answer to all the disasters in the world.
Yes, right. So you're going to be growing up around that, and you're going to be growing up around seeing violence done by other people. Like face to face, everybody's going to see some sort of bomb go off or somebody they know die, right? You're surrounded by death and this narrative. So if you go crazy and you have all those things in your head, it's likely you're going to live out the things you've seen, right? Because that's what mental health does, right? You take the things that you have seen, your mind gets, off kilter, and then you go do something terrible. Or at least that's what can happen. And so I think that's what's happened here. I think the ideology is part of it. But I don't actually think he's working with some cell that's being like, all right, now is your time, noble Ghazi, noble warrior, drive to DC and, unload some rounds in some innocent people's heads. I think the guy is like his ideology, and I think he snapped.
I mean, that doesn't really, that kind of action, the one that he actually took, doesn't really line up with like the strategic playbook of terrorist cells. You know, they're trying to pull off a bigger operation usually, right? They're trying to get a higher value. 9/11 happened, and we were in New Jersey, and all of the Saudis most of the Saudis who got their driver's licenses, United States, their New Jersey driver's licenses got them like at my DMV. They got them at my DMV, and nobody batted an eyebrow. You know what I mean? They were living normal lives. Like it's a central Jersey. It's a very multicultural area. Having Arabs there or Saudis there was like nobody would bat an eye. You know what I mean? But they were totally embedded into the society. And then when they pulled off what they pulled off, it was big. It was high value.
So let's move on from the vetting a little bit, because I don't think we can really, there's not enough evidence if anything's missed, but everything points to he becomes radicalized after moving here.
Yeah.
But let's put that aside for a second. And we've been on the ground with this issue for the last 3 years. You guys much longer, obviously. What do we think could have been done better in the U.S. process of welcoming Afghans that might have averted this outcome? I say might because I'm not a politician. I'm not trying to win an election.
I think this is a complicated question, though, right? Like, I think that immigration policy, and I've said it many times on this show, immigration policy in this country is broken. It's broken. It does not function like properly. People are in the system for too long. You have people waiting 10 years for asylum hearings. People who do the 7 years, they wait for 7 years and then they pay all of the money and all of the other stuff. It's just endless bureaucracy. And then on top of that, the bureaucracy, there's no follow-up. There's no, the pre-work is long and belabored. I just think that, if you want to fix how Afghans are welcomed, fix how everyone is welcomed, right? Like put forth some serious immigration reform, like I think that the problem with what happened in that moment, and it's really difficult, right? So when I went through the system and when my parents went through the system, sure, it took a long time, but the system was not flooded like it is now, right? So when you have a border policy that's like essentially letting people walk in and not like wait their stay in the countries that they're trying to get in from, um, it puts us in this chaotic situation where you know, sure, you don't want people to, experience like death or starvation or any of those things, right? But because the system is what it is, like you took a slow system and then you overwhelmed it, and then you took a system that like is designed to move slowly. It's designed to be careful, right? It's designed to like kind of weed people out who don't want to wait the time and go through the thing, go through the process. So, uh, you know, how do we welcome Afghans? We welcome everybody better. We clean up the system, we fix the system, and we make the system more streamlined. We make it more effective. I think in certain countries, the buy-in for citizenship is like Turkey right now is like if you come here as an Iraqi, right? If you come to Turkey as an Iraqi, be prepared to drop like a lot of money on real estate. Like you have to go through the process, but then on top of that, you have to have a serious financial.
You have to buy a property.
Yeah, and that's not great for us. I don't want that to happen because people are coming from wars. But what about like military service, right? Like what about guaranteed military service? What about like civil service? What about some kind of like you are now part of our country, and this is like the price of entering the country. And that's tough because I came into the country and you came into the country, and others have come into the country. And our price was time. We had to wait a long time and we had to spend a lot of money to become citizens, like we had to go through a long process. But in the face of having like a flooded system like that, like what's the difference between an Afghan running from the Taliban and like a Nigerian Christian running from Boko Haram, right? Like they all need safety.
So let me ask you this question. So, well, obviously we're agreed that not all Afghans are bad and shouldn't be here. Obviously, we think that in this room. But living in the Afghan community, are there people who have been let in here by the American government who you think should not have been allowed here?
In my honest opinion, yes. There are some people that
I've run into that
could have not been here in the first place. And just to elaborate on that a little bit is
can you explain why?
There are certain reasons for it. One is they are not ready for it goes back to the debate of third world versus the first world, which is America, which is the West. It's just not compatible. Their energy is not compatible, their mindset is not compatible, the way they live is not compatible. But those things are not so much a constraint because United States offers freedom for everyone, and you can live the way you want to live. Only you have to abide by the law, and sometimes those beliefs might contradict the law of United States, which would create problems. And same we can see with Rahmanullah. So certainly there are the real issue is that when U.S. Army was pulling out of Afghanistan, everyone rushed to the airport. So among them, there were people who worked with the United States, who were Christians and their lives were in danger, and there were politicians that Taliban's were looking for them.
I totally met all these people.
But alongside of them were also people who had power. and they got in before them, and they were able to fly out of Afghanistan and come to United States. And the real issue with vetting them and going through a long background check is that you don't have any direct communication with the authorities in Afghanistan to gather all to gather the approval and of and the authenticity of all the documents that are presented. So that issue results the other one, and it with the U.S. Army evacuating from Afghanistan, a ton of Afghans came. Which is a blessing because I was one of them. I could get out, but there are a few Afghans that should have not.
Well, I think all of us have met Afghans here who have told us that Afghanistan is better now the Taliban's in control. There are people here we have met who say that.
I mean,
there is no reason for someone who thinks that to be in America.
I have a very big issue with this type of mentality. If I face them, sorry for cutting you off, but if I face them, I get heated up. The first question is like, why the heck are you here? If you like it, go back. And when you tell them to go back, they're not going back.
I know Afghans who have been here before anything happened, like with the Taliban, like early 2000s, right? And they think that. And, that's frightening to me, right? That you can be here for that long.
And still think
raise your kids here, have a job, everything else like that, and then not like see the contrast. You know what I mean? Not see the contrast and like, that's the way that they live. And, you can't tell me, oh, it's so safe and it's so good. Bro, it's not safe. It's not good. If I were to go back or you were to go, right? Like I've never been there, but
it's not safe.
If you were to go and I were to, let's say we were to go, we're immediately on the chopping block. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe even like literally,
Yeah.
So, I have a
No, you're an ex-Muslim. You're screwed.
I'm an
ex-Muslim. A real-time judgment.
I'm not just an ex-Muslim. I am a vocal Christian, right? Mm-hmm. Like I am, I have made it my life's work to proclaim the gospel to anyone who will hear it. I am on the internet. I am on,
We are executing this man for being an apostate. Also, his hair is gay.
Hey, buddy.
I don't think
debatable.
I think your hair is great. I'm just quoting your mom's friend.
You know what? I just want to put it out there that my hair is fabulous, and everybody thinks that. Even the Taliban, they're just haters.
They're just haters.
So this is what I think. This is what I feel like. If somebody is here pending asylum, and they think that Afghanistan is better since the Taliban,
they should go back.
They should go back.
Right. You're not in any danger. The point is like asylum is like you're in danger. There's something to stop you from, living freely and prosperously over there.
These people, those type of people, believe that America may have a superior economy, but they have a better culture.
It's not just about the culture. It's about wanting a Islamic Sharia law government.
Yeah.
So their mindset is, I'm skipping from Sharia law because I don't like it. My life is in danger. I will come to West, and as soon as I came to West, now I want these laws and I also want to bring Sharia law and apply it here.
But even if they don't think they're in danger, right? What they're going to think is, okay, the economy of Afghanistan is bad because the world is against us. So they think that by being, in America, they can kind of get around that and, prosper. And they think, if only America had what we have in Afghanistan, it would be kind of perfect. We'd have a good economy and we would have, a perfect Islamic system. But the system the Taliban work towards and believe in is not poor because,
They closed the border on Pakistan. So
they're not poor because the West is sanctioning them. That might contribute to it. The reason they're poor is because they're
lack of education, lack of
they're not investing in the things that build wealth and safety and health in a society.
or
lack of human rights.
Yes.
like hundreds of years of political instability, tribalism, the embracing the worst parts of an ideology. Yeah, those are the reasons why. Those are the things that hold people back in any society.
Yeah. So there's people who are legitimately oppressed in Afghanistan right now.
Right.
And if you're an Afghan man who thinks the Taliban are the best government Afghanistan's ever had, and you're not in any danger, you should go back.
Right.
Yeah.
And the people in legit danger go through the asylum process.
Right.
But they know if they go back, it's like 15th century
Yeah.
in Afghanistan. It's
Right.
like 15th century, seriously.
So I would say to those people, right, there's this great verse Elijah says in 1 Kings 17. It says, why do you limp between two opinions? If Yahweh is God, worship him. If
Right.
Baal is God,
Worship
him, right?
Right.
So if you believe in having a sort of Islamic system, and you think the West is corrupt, just go live in the Islamic system and do your very best to build it. Don't
Right.
be double-minded about it.
And I mean, just to piggyback off of that, for living here, right? Like a house divided against itself can't stand. So if you're living in the house, right? Like you live in the house, causing division in the house is bad for you. It's bad for the house. It's bad for everyone here. I think the hard part is like once you taste religious freedom, after never having had it, you can go two ways. You can go ultra liberal and just try everything, right? Or you can go ultra conservative and go, no, I reject that freedom. There's middle ground, but when you come out of like a radicalized area, and then you're so used to being around radical thinking all the time, that when you come into like an area where like, look, you can be gay here, right? You can be gay, you can dye, you can have whatever gay haircut you want. No, I'm just kidding.
especially in Seattle.
My wife cuts my hair. I'm not gay.
Okay.
Just putting that out there.
My haircut was my 10-year-old daughter.
Oh man,
wow.
so good. Yeah, so there we go. I think when you come out of a radicalized place, when you're confronted with that much freedom, you don't know how to handle it.
And then, okay, so the people come out, and here's where I see the wider problem. I think you probably have a lot of Afghans coming here, ready to adapt, excited to be here, ready to assimilate.
Mhm.
But the problem with the way it's done, so many people came in, the government let in a ton of people and did not have a good plan. So I was just seeing a friend yesterday, and what they do is they process his paperwork, they give him an entry-level job, and this guy has been used to living his life being told what to do, right? Family tells you what to do. Tribe
Yes.
tells you what to do.
Yes.
Government tells you what to do.
Yes.
Or the society tells you what.
Your religion tells you what to do, right?
A military leader tells you what to do. Then you get on a plane to America. Then a resettlement agency tells you what to do. And now the only person telling you what to do is your
yourself.
entry-level boss,
Right.
right? Who just tells you, no, you can't take this day off. And you just and they're not used to living as free people.
Right.
So people are just stuck where they started after like years.
Right.
And and they're not advancing in society. And so and because they're in these entry-level jobs, they remain isolated from anybody other than like other Afghans for the most part, right? So what that means is you have a massive number of people, like tens of thousands just in our area, who are Afghans only interacting with other Afghans. So what that means is there's no light from the outside world in that situation. So you can be living in Kent, Washington, and the only people you interact with are Afghans. And so you have people who are much more sort of hardline, who go around telling everyone what to do, and they just keep acting like it's Afghanistan. Everybody listens to them. And we need people to stand up to those types of people. Like we had an event one time where we had a, welcome event for new Afghan refugees at a church. And we had lots of people RSVP who wanted to come. And then when it time came, 4 Afghan guys stood outside the hotel making sure nobody came to our event. That's happening here in America, and that is insane that is happening here. And
those people don't belong here.
yes,
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
They don't
belong.
They don't belong here.
They don't belong here.
That's clear, you know. And if it was, you know, if they were Mexicans, if they were Nigerians, if they were Turkish, I would say those people don't belong here either. Like it's
And so we've had to explain to people, look, if you're an Afghan man and your wife and, you know, of age daughter wants to wear a hijab all the time, and wants to stay home and not go out without a male escort, she's more than free to do that. You guys are free to choose to live that lifestyle here.
Mm-hmm.
If you are making other people do that, you are committing a crime in this country.
Yes, definitely.
And so, like, we have to get better. Like, the problem is it's a whole left-right dialogue, right? The right is like, deport all the Afghans, except the Christians.
No.
Right?
I mean, just, you know, the idea is fatigue, right? I think people, and it's not just in America, it's all over the world. You're seeing it right now. You're seeing mass immigration fatigue, right? You're seeing people who are in these places, and it doesn't matter what country they're in. They look at the people coming in from the outside and they're like, we're tired of it. You don't, there's no, it doesn't matter if it's Americans going down to Mexico and then turning like places into like little America, or it doesn't matter if it's, you know, people like Sweden saying there are these like Muslim rape gangs and all this other stuff happening here. Like, we're tired of it. We don't want it anymore. Go back to where you come from if you don't want to be Swedish, if you don't want to be Mexican, if you don't want to be American, right? Like that. I think there was this interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger on The View not too long ago, and he talked about having respect, right? Like, he came to this country and he respected the customs, and that's how he flourished. He found a place within the system, and it's Arnold freaking Schwarzenegger. He came here, he couldn't speak English, and he became governor of California. Some people were willing to change the Constitution so we could have, you know, I'll be back, like, be the president of the United States. Like, that's a huge success story. That's what happens when you like say, I'm going to this place. I want to show respect to the people who are hosting me.
And on top of
And
that,
many Afghans, sorry for cutting you off, but many Afghans are actually like that.
No,
Afghans are very enthusiastic, especially about education. And I know a ton of Afghans. Well, you guys know one too. There's an Afghan store from 30 years ago in Seattle, in Pike Place,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
That guy has 4 children. And one is doctor, 2 are engineers, and the other one is IT specialist.
right.
So, and you know, they own couple different small businesses, and they're contributing to the society. Like, we have Afghans in LA, you know, producing one of the most interesting shows of the year last year, and it got to top 10. So, you know, it's about 10 Afghan sisters who turned their life story into a show. They escaped Afghanistan in the 80s and came here. So, like, there's a ton of other Afghans who are trying, developing, and trying to contribute back to
just to piggyback on that. And I think you asked the question earlier, and I know we're going long. I think that the way forward is to give people hope. You had kind of mentioned that, you know, the light, right? Like, you had mentioned the light. When people were initially coming here, my conversation with Afghans that were initially coming here, they were shell shocked. You know, they lost their culture, they lost their jobs, they lost their home, they lost their properties, and they lost everything, and they came here. And the way that you, I felt like the message that resonated the most with them was, look, this is hard for you. It will be better for your kids, right? Like, that's how it was for me. My parents came here, they didn't speak a lick of English. You know, they had $2,000 in savings, and that was in 1974. Listen, it wasn't a lot of money back then either. So, like, it all just kind of dried up real fast, and my dad had to find the job, and my mom went from being a teacher to a janitor, right? Like, my dad, you know, thankfully and thank God, found another job that was similar to what he was doing. And, you know, the truth is, my oldest brother, you know, runs IT systems in hospitals. My other brother, you know, works in finance, right? Like, and is on his way to becoming a university professor. It will be better for your kids if you come with the right mindset, right? Like if you adopt the right mindset, you know, so much of your own thinking and then saying like, look, you can miss your culture. You can grieve those things, right? You can hate what happened to you. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean you have to like look at, you know, the place where you wound up and hate that too, right?
Right. And what I would say is the opposite side of the coin here is the sort of the left wing side of things. And I see more of that here than I see of the kind of crazy right stuff. And the problem with the left wing side is it's not taking the cultural problems and things to overcome seriously. It's just like, oh, we're so glad you're here. We need to learn from you. Which, yeah, again, there are things we can learn from other cultures. There's great things we can learn from Afghan cultures, right? We're way too isolated in America.
Bro,
and
the best pilav on the planet.
Yeah. There's lots of great things about Afghan culture that we can learn from. But if the left-wing activists were paying attention and really want to learn from the Afghans, is the first thing they do if they listened is like, don't trust all the Afghans.
Don't trust all the Afghans.
It's like the amount of time I have personally invested trying to convince Afghans to be less cynical about other Afghans.
And less cynical about other Afghans,
Right. So, like,
which I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah.
And you are the best of them. Right? You are the best one of them.
Not me, bro. They all think I'm Mexican.
Yeah, they all think
We're Mexican.
So there needs to be a little bit more discernment. There needs to be some realization that there are some cultural problems that any immigrant group is like to import with them. And we're not like the crazy right-wing people that see the Afghans or any other culture as a sum and total of their problems. As Christians, we see image bearers of God. But image bearers of God, that if they're refugees, they're here because they need our help. And we need to do a lot better if like figuring out, okay, what has gone wrong and how can we actually help you thrive? We have things to teach you about living here. And absolutely, you have beautiful things to learn and share with us. But I would say a lot of the left-wing people have lost perspective. And to think that, oh yeah, we have this sort of Afghan ghetto in the South End where you have people that don't even need to learn English to live and function as adults here. That's not a good thing. That's insane.
Right.
That's crazy.
Right.
And that is a recipe for oppression. It's a recipe for, you know, violence and manipulation and extremism. And again, you can't just blame the Afghans for that. We need Americans, we need Christians especially, to go and get closer to people, to have light on the situation. I want every refugee and immigrant here to have a wide circle of friends that sees them and cares about them as an individual. And perhaps if this guy who drove from Washington, D.C. had that in his life, perhaps this could have been averted. Maybe not. Like, again, there's no system that stops every piece of evil. But what I know from firsthand experience is there's a lot of Afghans living here with no light on the situation. And there are things happening here that shouldn't be happening here. And we need more robust laws. Yes, we need better vetting, which can better deal with like ideology, not just affiliation. But we also need more light on the situation. We need more love in the situation. And that's what we as Christians can provide. So guys, thank you for listening to Christ and Caliphate. We'll be back next time.